Okay, well, let's get started. We've got about a half an hour, and while it may seem like a long time, it's not really a ton of time. And I know you'll have questions about kind of where we're going with this. A lot of what we've been talking about throughout this whole morning on the first day is just really good practice when it comes to teaching online. And so when I talk about bringing in an instructor presence and chunking material, these are all things I know that you've heard before. So be prepared. I'm going to share my screen with you real quick. Here we go. And so what I'm going to also do as we go, we're going to have a little time for fun. I'm going to give you a link to pull up a rubric, and I'm going to show you some videos and give you a chance to score those videos. I'm going to send out a poll, and we'll see what we get with our results. So let's get going. How to make killer introduction videos. Why do we need to make introduction videos in the first place? A lot of instructors kind of want to get right into their course and get the basics. I need to get my lectures in there. I need to get all my material, my links, everything else. And they don't have time for introduction videos. But it'd be a real shame if you didn't include an introduction video in your course, because you're special to your students. They want to see you. They want to know a little bit about you, and they need to be able to feel comfortable approaching you and asking questions. Okay, believe it or not, I mean, you make the mundane memorable. Okay, that's our job as educators, right? And so there's two sides of teaching: the academic side and the human side. And guess which one the students prefer? Usually, it's the human side. What is that saying? They don't care what you have to say until they know how much you care. Okay, this is especially true in an online environment. Your students probably aren't talking to other people. They're not seeing other people, and they really need you to show that you're there, that you're a part. And I know Tom talked about this in his last, in the presentation. This isn't a correspondence course. In fact, it would be illegal to teach a correspondence course online, right? So we need to make sure that we're bringing this course to our students. And how do we do that? Well, we bring a little bit of that human presence. We bring a little of that social presence. So what do I need? I think before we get into technical requirements, what you have to understand is that a great introduction video is all about showing your personality, who you are, a little bit about yourself. And I think it's important to put your videos into three categories. Okay, so we have our introduction videos. This is about you. We have our course overview videos, and this can be like module overviews, or this can be your course, like your complete course. And then we have your lecture videos. And all too often, we kind of lump everything into one pot, and we make a video that is all encompassing. And that's generally what happens when we have these long, 6 to 10 minute videos, is we've kind of put everything in it together. And it's important to separate those. So looking at introduction videos, because that's what we're going to talk about today. This video is all about you, okay? A lot of times the mistake that's made is we try to fit everything in. Our introduction video becomes our syllabus video, right? And we put everything about the course in there because we want them to know all of this important information. It's like first day, the first time, the first contact that we get to meet our students. And it becomes a little bit of I call it a chocolate covered broccoli, right? Where it's like, hey, here's this cool course video about myself, but then, here's all these things about the class that's going to take place. And before you know it, you look up, and it's 15 minutes long, and you've talked about the really particulars of a test that you're giving. Try to keep in mind when you're making an introduction video, you want it short, okay? Under 5 minutes for sure. What you're gonna see as you're looking at them and as you rate these, even 4 minutes or 3.5, 4 minutes can be a little bit long, okay? So the advice that I would give is to plan very carefully with your introduction video. Take into account things that you like to do, that you wouldn't mind sharing with your students. Maybe have some humor, show them, if you play the guitar or a book that you've published or research that you're into. Make it conversational, but prepare really well. And then wing it, okay? It's gonna take a few takes. You're not going to get it on the first one. But you're going to want to make sure that, it doesn't seem like it's too rigid, that it's thought, that you've thought about what you're going to do, but you don't need to be a robot as you're giving it. So I put down here a couple of things. Chunking and human presence, of course, meaning, keep these things short so you can keep their attention. And then there's a reason why we make these. The introduction video is not only a great icebreaker, but you can use it as a model, because you're trying to show your students, like, this is our community. We're all in this together. And here's some things I like. Let's talk about some things you like as well. So I use mine I pair it with my discussion board, and I use it as the first post. And so as I post my video, I have the students watch, and I say, hey, post your video. Tell us what you love. Tell us a little bit about you. You're not always going to get every student that wants to do that, but maybe you can convince them to put a picture up. My first assignment in any class is posting a picture of themselves. It's useful because, there are times where I'm in the middle of maybe teaching a few sections and I can't really put a name to the face, and I can go back in that discussion board and say, oh yeah, okay, this is this person, so I remember who it is. So it's twofold useful. So let's talk about the specifics. If you're talking about delivery, length, and engagement, you need to keep it short, okay? Around 2 to 4 minutes is what I suggest. You want to make sure that you're engaging. So keep their attention. If you kind of drone on and on, you're going to lose it real quick. Speak clearly, but not too fast, and show confidence and energy, okay? You've got to bring that energy that you want from your students in class. Don't be afraid to show who you are, okay? Include props, tell a joke, share some of the things that you like to do, smile. It seems like we shouldn't have to say that, but we do, right? Use humor appropriately, appear interested in what you're doing and who they are, okay? And you can even film, and some people may be nervous to do this, but you can film on location in different places that you are. I've seen instructors who were taking a family vacation in Florida, and they posted a video of themselves because, hey, it was kind of cool. Expectations. So this is where you can include a few of them, okay? I'm not going to tell you don't put any expectations in your intro video, but keep it minimal, okay? Remember the purpose of what your video is all about. So you can lay out what the students can expect in your course. Maybe you can even cover what you did the week before, but I would suggest keeping that in like the course introductions video. We're not all Steven Spielberg, right? Or Quentin Tarantino. We don't have to be when it comes to putting together our introduction videos, okay? But you do want to take some steps to make sure that your video turns out all right. What does that mean? Well, proper lighting. If you are filming your video with an open window right behind you, a lot of that light's probably going to bleed in and you're not going to be able to see your face. Clear audio is helpful, okay? If you're in the middle of a classroom when you do your video and you really can't hear yourself, that's not going to help. Camera positioning is important. You can use the camera on your laptop. You could get one of those HD cameras. I think on Amazon, they're about 20 bucks. They're pretty nice. You could even use your cell phone. Okay, cell phones have really nice camera nowadays. Music is a nice touch. I don't know if I would put it in the introduction video, but if you're doing like a module overview, you just don't want it to be distracting. So if you're going to use a little bit of music, I would keep it really low and in the background. And then make sure that your camera's in focus. You know, these are the little kind of technical aspects. Make sure that it's not blurry, it's not set at a weird angle, it's not looking up your nostrils, okay? That your camera is on you when you're making your film. And finally, just do it. So it can be really intimidating to put yourself online or to videotape yourself, right? It can be intimidating to go live on Facebook or to do something like that. And it's generally not the first thing we want to do when we think about teaching. It does take careful planning. It does take extra work to do that. But my advice would be that although it's time consuming, although it can be frightening, it does add a tremendous amount of value to your courses. It really connects your students to what you're doing, and it lets them in on who you are, okay? So let's put this into perspective. I am going to share a few videos with you. This is the link for the rubric. So hold on, I'm going to stop sharing real quick. So what I'm going to do is go back up here, and I'm going to copy and paste this link into the chat for you. Let me jump over real quick. All right, so there is the link to the rubric. You don't need to fill it out, but you can just kind of look at it as we go. And I'm going to show you some videos. I'll give everyone a minute here to get into it. I'm going to show you some videos. All right. Now, what I noticed as I was practicing this is that the videos, when I clicked the little options to share, they got really loud. So they might come through very loud on your end. And if they do, let me know and I'll try to turn it down. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll make a poll. I might have to stop sharing, it looks like. After I do the, oh, no. I might need to get Jono for a poll. All right, so let me play the first video.
Man, no rubric. There was no link in your chat.
Oh, really? Good to know. Oh, because I sent that message to Kelly privately.
Looking for you, Matt.
I don't know why that was like that. There you go. There you go. Well, that gives me time to ask Jono to let me make a poll. It may not, so this Zoom meeting may not have been set up with a poll already, and that's what I'm guessing, just as I'm looking at it. That's an option that you have to choose when you set it up. And so I don't think that is an option, but we'll see. All right, so I'm going to share my screen again. All right, so this first one is, sounds like a really cool class. Someone that we work with, Jackie Hughes, this is one of her friends in Texas, and this is a video he made. So,
welcome to the Grand Tour at last, and welcome also to Ancient Egypt. This is just one of the places we're going to be exploring in this first unit, which is going to cover ancient art through the Middle Ages. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind about the work that we're going to be looking at. First of all, a study of ancient art is basically archaeology. The earliest works that were made by people are not the things found on the walls of galleries, but things that archaeologists are digging up with shovels and dusting off with brushes. So I think that's kind of exciting and romantic. A second thing to remember about a lot of this early art is the idea that most of it is functional. It wasn't made purely to enhance our lives with beauty, but rather it was often made for a spiritual or religious purpose. It had a practical use to the people who made it. And often, many of the aesthetic works we see are decorations on utilitarian objects, like vases or houses, that sort of thing. And that's a very recent sort of development. Most of the art that's made today is made purely to decorate walls. It's a very aesthetic experience and not as utilitarian. So keep that in mind as we explore. All right, we're going to begin our grand tour in some of the earliest places where art was made, the caves of France and Spain. So let's get started.
okay, so I probably shouldn't start out with such an amazing video because there's nowhere to go from there. Let me see if I can get this poll. And if not, then you can just look at that rubric and kind of figure out where you would grade it. I believe it was a 15-point possible rubric. Am I wrong? All right, so it looks like I'm not going to be able to make a poll. So what are some of the things that we like about that? Well, as you could see, if I was going to ask you what that falls into, introduction, course design, lecture video, or course overview, that's probably going to be the course overview, right? It had music in the background, as you could see, wasn't terribly like overpowering. He brought props. He had a nice background behind him. So there was a lot of nice, there's a lot of good things going on in that video. Let's take a look at the next one.
Hi everyone, my name's Jim Johnson, and I'm going to be your Math 110 teacher this semester. Thought I'd tell you a little
Share your screen.
Oh, I forgot to dress up first.
We can't see it, Matt.
Ah. Sorry about that. Here we go. Take two.
Hi everyone, my name's Jim Johnson, and I'm going to be your Math 110 teacher this semester. Thought I'd tell you a little bit about me. Oh, I forgot to dress up first. Let me start with that. I got my bow tie here. Actually, I don't know how to tie this. Maybe I could just sit here and hold it while we finish our video today. So, we're going to be in Math 110 together for a whole semester, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But I wanted to talk about me for a little while, just as an introduction today. So I've been teaching for a lot of years, and I have lots of hobbies. Teaching's one of those hobbies. That's why I'm teaching you. But the things I really like to do outside of school, well, I like to go to Florida. It's really warm down there, and when I'm down there, I wakeboard. And I got last year when I was down there, I saw this group of fish out in the water, and I decided I was going to go out and swim with them. Then something bumped my foot. Turned out it was a shark. I almost got bit by a shark when I was down there in Florida. Can you believe that? Well, that's one of the things that happened to me. What else? I like to fish. I kayak. Go hunting once in a while. So I guess you could call me an outdoor person. And but in my spare time, then I come in and I teach you guys too, and it's a lot of fun. So how does my bow tie look? You think that looks pretty nice? Yeah, I think it looks probably okay. I wish I knew how to tie it. Maybe after I'm done with this video, that'll be next. I'll get on YouTube and find a way to tie a bow tie. So anyway, that's me. I'll see you in class. That's it. Bye, everybody.
So as you could see from that one, a little bit different. Rambles a little bit. I'm not sure he had a plan coming in. Talked about himself a bit, talked about his class a bit. There was some definite background noise, and then look at his background, it's the whiteboard there. That's a little distracting. You think about a student who, potentially has problems with focus. There's a lot going on in that video that could take away from that focus. Here's the next one.
My name's Matthew Smith, and I'll be your instructor in this course. Welcome to Digital Animation and Game Design. Are you ready? Because here we go. Games are dynamic. They include elements and pieces that fit together. You remove one piece and you have a completely different type of game, experience, and maybe even emotion. Learning how to analyze, and take apart, dissect these elements can make you a great board game designer. So I want you to think of yourself like a chef. You sprinkle in some board game mechanics, maybe a different victory condition, a little bit of chance, a little bit of luck. And you can find flavor profiles, right? Maybe this mechanic works really well with this theme. That's how you make a great game. My name is Matt Smith, and this has been your masterclass. No, okay, don't forget the point. games are dynamic. So the question you're probably asking is, how can I be successful in this class? And that's a good question. Here's the truth. Game design is a field of practice. You can listen to all the podcasts, you can read the textbooks, you can look at the online articles, but the only way you're going to learn how to be a game designer is through experiences. It's through analyzing, taking notes, and having a lot of those experiences.
So as I pause, you see that this video is about halfway through, and it already seems like, there's a lot there. So when I say, keep it short, that is definitely a thing you want to do. Some of the things about this video, it had some good things and some bad things going on with it. The camera angle, you can see that it's cropped off the top of, my head in every shot. It's out of focus. The music's a little distracting in my opinion, but some of the elements of it do make this kind of an interesting video. You got to think as you're watching, is this a class I want to take? That's what your course overview is all about. Is this an instructor that I think I can connect with? So let's look at the next one.
Hi, welcome to my class. I'm really excited to see you and have you join us in class. And a little bit about myself. I've been teaching for almost 10 years. I've done professional development around the state of Michigan. And I think we're going to have a good class as far as team building and working on our projects together. And yeah, and a little bit about myself. When I'm not teaching, I'm probably carting around my 5 kids or attending to my 2 dogs. I like the outside. I like to go to the beach. I like camping, wine tasting. Does that count? So I'm looking real forward to getting to know everybody. And if you can get started in the course, go through everything that you see on the Start Here section. Check out the left bar navigation and all those items. And then please end with an introduction of yourself. And I will see you online. Thank you.
So as we look at that one, obviously, as you graded on your rubric, and thanks to Kelly for being a good sport there, the lighting, she positioned herself right in front of the windows. So the lighting's not great. Her voice, was way too low. Yeah, so there's a few things going on there. So obviously this is kind of subjective by nature, but it's fun to kind of look at other videos and see what they're doing, critique them a little bit. The main point is take your time and plan out what you want to say to make a killer introduction video, okay? Not only does it make your course look professional, but students appreciate that effort that you take. This was something that one of my students had said after taking a course. They just really appreciated the fact that they could connect with me before they even knew me. And this was a face-to-face class that I did this for, but even more so in an online world, it's important that we connect with our students and let them know who we are so they can approach us and ask questions when they have them. Before I wrap this up, I've got a couple lists of resources for you, but the first one I want to promote is your digital media specialists on campus. They're more than happy to help you record lectures, intros, whatever else you need. Don't be afraid to go ask them to help you with it, especially if you're uncomfortable editing your own videos. They've got some amazing resources. I know Wes Thompson, who works at Ferris, has this glass light board that he uses for lectures, and he does just some amazing things with it. As far as editing your intro videos and your course overviews, some of the online tools you can use are listed here, and I'll include this in the that course packet that we have in Google, so that if you want to ever kind of go look at this list, you can. And these first ones are, free ones. They take a little bit of getting used to. Sometimes they'll put a watermark, or they'll have some sort of ad on there. Once you kind of figure out one online video editor, they all kind of are similar. The 2 down at the bottom are where you start to kind of get into, you know, the expense side of it. Lumen 5 gives you 5 free videos per month, which is probably plenty to start with. And then the other two below that are about $50, which is relatively cheap when it comes to video editing tools. The other one that I wanted to talk to were for course lectures. And I didn't talk about editing or doing video for course lectures at all, but it's very much different, especially since you want to be able to talk to your students, and you want to be able to show your students what you're doing on your screen. And so Zoom, obviously, because we're using it right now, is the top one. But there's a really cool one called Loom that kind of does the same thing, where you can have your face in the picture while you're, you know, presenting. Screencast-O-Matic or Screencastify allow you to catch your screen and deliver a presentation. And then, of course, there's some other ones down below that you can use as well. So I'm going to stop sharing and see if we have any questions about that. We've got about 2 minutes left. So if you have any questions, I'll kind of look through the discussion board here, or if you have anything you want to unmute your mic and ask.
I do have a question.
Yeah,
so it seems like there's a fine line between, you know, making, I know for women, it seems like there's a difference in like what you can get away with in a video, an introduction video, versus what a male can get away with. Do you have any recommendations?
That would be hard for me to give my perspective. Can you give me some like definitions of what that looks like?
Well, for example, if you, I've had issues where you come across like try to be fun and engaging, and they're like, "Oh, what a ditz," or, or you know, there's a different perception. Like, so what can you, you know, how do you be fun and engaging, but be taken seriously as an instructor, and have that expectation of, yes, this is going to be a fun class, but, you know, have the respect of your students. There's a line there, and I haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I mean, I guess it's, you know, and online makes it even more difficult because you don't have those little side conversations, or the, you know, the ability to greet them at the door, or to kind of set your, you know, establish your presence in that way. So I can see where it would be a little more difficult. I think a lot of time it just, maybe it's keeping it a little more professional in nature. Yeah, I guess it would be hard for me to comment on that a little bit. Kelly, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I was going to try to save you, but I was just waiting for you to finish.
Well, thanks for some.
Actually, I totally understand exactly what you're saying. So I think just establishing yourself up front, like Matt was kind of alluding to, I do a second week, I do an online, asynchronous online chat just to talk about the course, answer any questions, talk about the final product, project, paper, whatever they're going to do. And you're right. So I do think, like Matt says, keep it professional, but still be yourself. You know, you can laugh at yourself in it, whatever it is, be yourself, but then establishing it right up front with just, again, like Matt was saying, you're not there in the physical presence to do that. So it needs to be somehow established. And I know exactly what you're talking about. Especially, it's also an age thing. So if you're someone who looks younger and you have adult males or people, if you're a woman and males, adult males, there's an issue sometimes too. So it's really establishing your expertise and your professionalism. And bottom line is you're awarding the grades, and they need to figure that out. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, Kelly, now that I'm thinking about that, because I'm just trying to think of a perspective that I can understand. So when I first started teaching at Ferris, I remember specifically my first year, I had mentioned a couple times, like, well, hey guys, this is my first year doing it. Let me, you know, I'm going to make a few mistakes. And the students, you know, 18, 19, whatever, they really latched onto that. And when I got my evaluations back, it was, well, it's his first time doing it. And so I bet if I had never said anything and just kind of remained professional and went ahead, they wouldn't have said that. So I think I kind of pushed that. And I'm not saying that's anything, you know, to do with being a female and teaching, because I'm sure they're completely different. But I do remember, you know, anything that I could grab on. I did see a question about Studio and Canvas. Studio is, well, it's there. It's not my first choice. There are some great features for Studio. So I will say this, there's this amazing feature in Studio that lets you either integrate videos you have done or to make new videos. And what's really cool is you can make that video a quiz. And all along the way, you can have stopping points in your video. So let's say you're giving a class lecture, you can have the video stop, and then it will ask a quiz. It could be a poll, it could be like a discussion board question, and then they have to answer it before they're allowed to go on further. So it's a really cool teaching tool for lecture videos, and it gives you some real data when it comes to looking at your students, because you can also look at that video and you can see each point that your students have come in and watched it. So student might say something in class like, oh, I don't remember this. It's like, well, that's because you watched 1 minute of my video and then you watched the last minute of my video.
See where they left, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun to go back and look at that. But it also, it's a way for us to teach in an online format that is similar to what we do, in a face-to-face class, where we can have these formative checks all along the way as we're delivering our lectures. So I do like Studio for that resource. Other than that, though, I'm not a huge fan of Studio, especially when it comes to recording. I honestly prefer Zoom. And if your institution has paid for it, it's really quite nice. There's a lot of things you can do with it.
Can I add to that too, Matt? I see this a lot because at Ferris and probably at the other organizations too, the institutions, we have Zoom and we have Studio. And most of the faculty that I work with, they don't have any equipment. They can use their cell phone, they use their laptop camera. It doesn't have to be fancy to be real with the students, but the difference is I agree with Matt that I would probably video either from my phone, or if you have a camera or your laptop, and upload it to YouTube. It'll close caption for you and then put it into Studio. The reason I say that is Studio for Ferris will not keep those for very long. And if you want to use the same one, say in another, like maybe it's an introduction, you want to use it in another class, then it needs to be saved somewhere on your computer.
Yeah,
you can copy into another course.
Yeah, and I saw some question about ARC. As far as I know, ARC and Studio are the same. For whatever reason, they call it something different. You can upload Zoom videos into students if you have it in an MP4 format. Yep, and you can save them in the cloud, or you can save them on your computer. Any video in an MP format can be uploaded into Studio. Yep, this way the students don't know the difference. Absolutely. I also will take, a lot of times I'll take my Zoom video and I'll upload it to YouTube. And the reason I do that is because you can do some closed captioning stuff for accessibility for your students, which is important as well. You want to make sure that you're meeting the federal guidelines for being accessible. YouTube has a feature that'll allow closed captioning, but it also allows the users to do the closed captioning. So you can open source that a bit, okay? Studio does closed captioning too. Good to know. Absolutely. Okay, I'm just kind of reading through the comments as we go. In multiple languages, nice. Yeah, so I joined a bit late. Can you share the slides? Absolutely. So Kelly has put together a Google Spot for all of the slides, throughout this symposium, and I will give her what I went through today so that you can use kind of the information when you're making your, information video or your introduction video. I had a couple links to videos, so if you were in here, you were able to watch the video, and then I was going to do this really fun thing where we did a poll and we were able to rate the videos, but couldn't do polls. So, but it does have a rubric with it so that you could also look at that when you wanted to.
Thanks for mentioning that, Matt. So on the main agenda that you have there, on the top of each day is the handout tab, which takes you right to that day's, all the sessions. If anyone's sharing anything with you, they can put it up there so you can find it each day.
Yeah. Before I go, I just kind of want to plug my digital breakout session coming up. Look over your schedule for it. It's going to be a fun time. It's a way to engage your students in a different way using active learning, game-based learning. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Matt.
Yep. See everybody.